On that New Year's Eve, snow fell heavily across the small town, blanketing everything in pure white. Each delicate snowflake drifted down gently, settling on rooftops, streets, and trees, covering the world in a soft, white blanket. The bitter cold wind howled through every alley and corner, cutting through the air like tiny knives. The gray sky gradually turned deep purple as twilight descended upon the town. On the streets below, people hurried home to celebrate the new year with their families. Laughter and cheerful voices echoed everywhere. Warm light glowed from windows like little stars in the darkness. The delicious aroma of festive meals filled the freezing air. The smell of roasted goose, freshly baked bread, cinnamon, and apples. Everyone had a home to return to. Everyone had loved ones waiting for them. But among the bustling crowd, there was a little girl walking alone through the cold. She was only about 10 years old. Her long golden hair flowed down to her shoulders, now covered with white snowflakes. Her big blue eyes were like two precious gems, but filled with deep sadness. Her pale skin had turned slightly blue from the cold, with only her cheeks and the tip of her nose flushed red. She wore a thin, worn brown dress that was faded and torn in many places, offering no protection against the biting cold. An old apron tied around her chest had also lost its color long ago. Her tiny bare feet walked on the frozen snow, turning red and numb from the piercing cold that crept through her small body. When she left home that morning, the little girl still had a pair of wooden slippers. They had belonged to her mother, far too big for her tiny feet, but they were better than nothing at all. However, while crossing the street, a horse carriage came rushing toward her at full speed. The little girl panicked and ran to escape. The oversized slippers flew off her feet as she ran. One fell into a drainage ditch and was swept away by the water, gone forever. The other one was snatched up by a mischievous boy who disappeared into the crowd. He laughed loudly, saying he would keep the slipper as a cradle for his baby sister someday. The little girl just stood there helplessly, unable to say a word. From that moment on, she had to walk barefoot through the freezing snow. Throughout that entire day, the little girl had wandered through every street, trying to sell her matches. She had called out to countless people passing by, her small voice growing weaker with each attempt. But no one bothered to stop and listen. People rushed past her, too busy thinking about their own New Year's Eve celebrations and warm dinners waiting at home. Some did not even glance at her, as if she were invisible. Others waved her away like she was nothing more than a bothersome fly. Not a single person paid attention to the little girl trembling in the bitter cold. Her pocket remained completely empty, without even a single coin. Her stomach ached with hunger. She had not eaten anything since early morning. Only the cold was real, seeping into every muscle and bone. The little girl did not dare to return home. She was terrified that her father would beat her if she came back empty-handed without selling a single match. Her father was a rough and cruel man who was often drunk on cheap liquor. He never had a kind word for her, only harsh commands and angry shouts. Her mother had passed away many years ago when she was very young. Her grandmother, the only person who ever truly loved her, had also left this world. Now she was all alone with her cold-hearted father, who showed her no affection. The tiny attic room where they lived was not much warmer than the streets outside anyway. The roof was full of holes, and the wind still crept through every crack. Being at home or staying outside felt equally cold and lonely. The sky grew darker and darker with each passing moment. The snow fell thicker and heavier now. The wind blew stronger and more fiercely than before. The little girl was completely exhausted, unable to take another single step forward. Her legs had gone completely numb, and she could barely feel them anymore. She stumbled toward a corner between two tall brick buildings to shelter from the howling wind. She sat down on the frozen ground, pulled her purple legs close to her chest, hugged her knees tightly, trying desperately to keep whatever little warmth remained in her tiny body. From this corner, she could see the warm golden light glowing from the windows of the house across the street. Inside, a happy family was gathered together, laughing and talking. The little girl watched them with glistening eyes, silently wishing she could sit in such a warm room. The little girl's hands had gone completely numb from the cold. Her tiny fingers were stiff and frozen, unable to feel anything at all. She looked down at the bundle of matches, still clutched in her hands. This was the only way left. What if she lit just one match to warm her freezing hands for a moment? Just one single match. It would be all right. Surely no one would mind.
I wish I could
With
stay
trembling
here where
hands,
it's warm.
she pulled out one match and struck it gently against the brick wall. The match burst into flame with a soft hiss. A small but beautiful fire flickered to life, casting a warm orange glow around her. And miraculously, before her eyes appeared a large iron stove, polished and black, with a magnificent fire roaring brightly inside. Gentle warmth spread toward her like a loving embrace. The little girl smiled with pure happiness. But the tiny flame suddenly flickered and died. The beautiful stove vanished instantly, as if it had never existed at all. The little girl found herself sitting in the cold, dark corner once again, holding only a burnt-out match that had grown cold in her fingers. The bitter cold rushed back more cruelly than ever before, biting at her skin. She quickly struck another match against the wall with desperate hope. The flame burst to life once more, dancing brightly. This time, the magical light seemed to shine right through the solid brick wall, making it transparent like crystal glass. She could see a magnificent dining room with an elegant feast spread across the table. A pure white tablecloth, precious china dishes arranged perfectly, and in the center sat a beautiful roasted goose, golden brown and steaming, filling the air with its delicious aroma. Then the match went out once more. The magnificent feast disappeared in the blink of an eye. The delicious roasted goose dissolved into nothing but cold air. Before her eyes, there was only the cold brick wall and the endless darkness surrounding her small figure. The little girl struck another match without any hesitation this time, desperate to see more beautiful visions. The flame burst into brilliant life, brighter than before, and a magnificent Christmas tree appeared before her wondering eyes. The tree stood tall and majestic, covered in fresh green needles, decorated gloriously with thousands of twinkling candles that cast dancing shadows. Colorful glass ornaments sparkled like jewels in every shade imaginable. Shimmering tinsel caught the light beautifully. Candies and cookies hung from the branches invitingly. At the very top, a golden five-pointed star blazed as brilliantly as a tiny sun. The little girl reached out her small hand, wanting desperately to touch the magical tree before her. But the match flickered and died once again. The Christmas tree slowly faded away into the darkness. But the twinkling candles did not disappear completely. Instead, they floated upward, rising higher and higher into the vast night sky, transforming into brilliant shining stars that dotted the heavens above. The little girl lifted her head and gazed up at the beautiful sky in wonder. Countless stars were twinkling down at her, as if they were smiling gently just for her. At that very moment, A shooting star streaked across the dark sky, leaving behind a long, brilliant trail of sparkling light. The little girl suddenly remembered what her grandmother had told her long ago. Grandmother said that whenever a star falls from the sky, it means a soul is flying up to heaven. The little girl quickly struck another match with trembling fingers. In the warm, flickering glow of the flame, her grandmother appeared before her. Grandmother stood there, looking more gentle and radiant than ever before in her memory. Her hair was white as clouds in summer. Her kind eyes looked at the little girl with infinite love and tenderness. Grandmother smiled warmly and opened her arms wide to embrace her. The little girl burst into tears, crying out for her beloved grandmother. "Please do not disappear like everything else." The little girl struck match after match desperately, one after another without stopping. The entire bundle of matches burst into brilliant flames, blazing as bright as the morning sun. Grandmother stepped forward and wrapped the little girl in her loving arms at last. Then Grandmother took her hand gently, and together they flew upward, soaring over the snow-covered rooftops, into the starlit sky, toward a place with no hunger, no cold, no suffering. On New Year's morning, when the pale sun finally rose over the quiet town, people found the little girl sitting in the corner between the two buildings. She had passed away during the cold night, alone in the freezing darkness. Her cheeks were still rosy pink. Her lips still wore a peaceful, gentle smile. Around her lay the burnt matches, now nothing but ashes scattered in the snow. No one knew the wonderful visions she had seen that night. No one knew she had flown to heaven with her beloved grandmother. They only saw a poor little girl who had died on New Year's Eve. But she had finally found true happiness, forever with the grandmother who loved her.